On this channel, I'll admit that we very often tend to focus on plug-in hybrids and electric vehicles from mainstream automakers. These vehicles, either mass production or so-called compliance models, are usually designed and sold as regular highway-capable cars. They're not super unusual in their design or features, but also aren't exactly cheap. Even the most affordable of plug-in models on the market today from a mainstream brand won't give you much change from $28,000 before incentives if you're buying it outright. Which leads many of you to reach out and ask me if we're going to cover one or other of a range of different vehicles from a range of lesser known companies. These vehicles, usually made by a startup or small volume firm, are often not designed as conventional vehicles. They may have an unusual construction materials or methods designed to reduce weight and maximize range. They may have fewer seats than most models on the market today, and they may also have a lower sticker price. You may also find that some will have a limited top speed, allowing them to be classified not as a full-size car, but rather a low-speed electric vehicle in North America, or in Europe, a heavy quadricycle. These classifications mean that vehicles don't have to meet strict crash test issues, but there are also restrictions. Some of them, like the Electromechanica Solo and the Arcimoto, are classified as motorcycles or tricycles, depending on the market they're in. All of these vehicles have one thing in common though, to get you into them and driving electric. At one point, vehicles like this were pretty much the only way you could get behind the wheel of an electric car. My first electric car back in 2006-2007 was a City L, a single-seat runabout that had a top speed of just 30 miles per hour. There were highway-capable electric cars around, but most were conversions, older, previous generation electric cars, or really expensive limited production models. I couldn't afford any of them. These days, though, things are different. You can buy any number of mainstream electric cars from mainstream automakers, but I still regularly get emails from viewers asking why we don't cover specific vehicles from lesser-known brands, as well as emails from those of you wanting to know if you should consider buying one of them instead of the Nissan Leaf, Chevrolet Bolt, Tesla Model 3, etc., etc. I'll answer the first question first, as it's the easiest. For the most part, while there is interest in lesser-known brands, we tend towards mainstream models from mainstream brands as they tend to be the vehicles that most people are interested in. That's partly due to brand awareness, but it's also due to sales support and after-sales service availability. In some cases, the look of these unconventional electric vehicles can also put some buyers off, just as it can draw others in. Since this channel tries to be as relevant to as many people as possible, it makes sense to focus on cars which are most relevant to the most people. But once in a while, we will cover less conventional or smaller brand electric vehicles if we think there's enough interest. Now to the other bit. Should you buy an electric vehicle, conventional or quirky, from a small or lesser known electric vehicle company? At the end of the day, that choice is really up to you, but there are some things you should bear in mind about these vehicles from smaller companies. First, service and sales. The smaller a company is, the less likely it is to have a dealer network supporting it, which means any issues with your vehicle will either require you to go back to the manufacturer, which could take longer to fix things if it's a long way away, or require you to be a little handy yourself and work on your car yourself. Some people don't mind doing that. I mean, I wouldn't, as long as I had a spare vehicle and a decent workshop. But for some people, that would be a complete turn-off. If you're one such person, then you probably want to rethink that small company electric vehicle. Second, the smaller a car company or manufacturer, the more likely it is to suffer some form of financial crisis and cease production. And that means after sales and service may disappear completely if the parent company goes bust. Sometimes service contracts can be agreed as part of a bankruptcy proceeding, but often not. And even if that happens, parts availability may become very difficult. Finally, there's resale value. Used electric vehicles from lesser-known brands, especially quirky ones, may not have as good a resale value as models from mainstream manufacturers. They also take longer to sell unless you're lucky and can find an active owners club willing to help you find a loving home for your vehicle. So, in conclusion, yes, if you don't mind the extra work that owning a quirky or unusual electric vehicle from a lesser-known company can entail, you can save yourself some money and have a fantastic, fun ownership experience to boot. But if you're looking for a daily driver and you don't have sales and service support locally to you and you don't want to do that extra work, you may want to think twice. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy one, but you should certainly make sure you know what you're buying before you make that final purchase decision. That's it. Thanks for joining me and see you next time.